So I thought it would be good for us to do a tour of our barn. We've been really busy lately. I haven't done a lot of videos, and we've just kind of let that portion slip of the farm. But we've had a lot of visitors, a lot of farm tours, and I thought it'd be kind of neat if I took you on a tour of the barn so you can kind of see how our animals are kept and what kind of environment they're in. We can kind of talk to you about what some of our improvements have planned, or that we have planned for the future, and just kind of look and see. So we're around, go into our barn. So Henrietta the chicken is in here. She's not supposed to be in here. She's our only chicken with a name. We'll have to chase her out here in a little bit, but they get in here and they get hidden, and then we don't realize they're here. So this is basically, we keep our feed in here. I will tell you, best thing we ever did was I had a freezer that I saw on Facebook or somewhere, and they were like, hey, this doesn't work. And I was like, ooh, I want this. Or maybe, I'm not sure how I got it, or maybe I bought it and it didn't work. But we actually used it as a feed bed. Best thing I ever did. Keeps most of the flies out, keeps chickens out, keeps the mice out. So I've got some other trash bag cans because I just need one more of those, but I haven't taken the time or effort to find one more. They're really fantastic for keeping feed in. So every morning we come in here. I actually take my dairy goats and we load them up the chutes. They come up one at a time. We milk them right here. I've got iodine and paper towels that we use to clean their teats off with. I've got a fan because it's super hot, and this fan kind of helps keep the room from getting too muggy. So it's really nice to help circulate the room out here. And the walls out here are like I don't know if you can hear that. Hopefully you can. But they're like a plastic. I don't know what it would be called. Matt would know, but it's nice for washing down and keeping the room tidy, especially after I get a chicken or two in here and we track up the floor in and out so that I can get it cleaned. So each room has multiple doors, but this is really the only room in the barn. So we have this barn divided out into 3 sections. Okay, so this is like the first section, and it goes all the way down. So it's a 250-foot long barn, and what we do is we have multiple pens in each section. So this is kind of a really good example of what we want to do with each pen area. So we'll have the gate, and we've got the feeder, and then another gate, and the door. And the door will actually open up, and there will be runs outside of the barn with an automatic water. Right now, this whole side of the barn is outside, not inside obviously, but outside is one big pasture. So the goats that are out here get this whole length of pasture outside the barn. But over time, what we're going to be doing is we're actually cutting it down so we can move the animals to pasture to pasture as the food is eaten down, so that we can have better separate our animals, because during the winter months we'll bring them in so they're not so outside in that in the outside barn that we have, so they're kind of more we're able to regulate their temperatures a little bit more. So this flooring in here is actually concrete. There's a little hint. So we keep the straw down here. We don't really have any problems with the goats or the sheep slipping. When we do get cattle in here, we tend to thicken it up a little bit more because they could slip. So if we ever have cattle in here, it's only in the very back pen, and we put layers and layers and layers of straw down because we don't want it to be an issue. And we generally only put 1 or 2 steers in here, or whatever we're bottle feeding. Or had bottle fed, we'll keep them up into the back of the barn. So that's kind of this side. You can see all of the chickens everywhere. This is Cheese Puff. Hi, Cheese Puff. Cheese Puff is our little mouser. So there's our baby goats, some of them that are in this pen. So this pen only has weaned baby goats. They have, we have some Nubians, And then we have boar goats. So our feeders are all like this. They have like a cattle panel, either wired or tied. This is a Farmer's Friend baling twine on this with a sheet of plywood that's slanted, and then it has a plywood base so that the grain sets on. It's really great. We go through and we clean the troughs out every week or so to get any type of animal feces, because the goats do like to climb up in them, and make sure they're clear. So, and then underneath we've got some boards to kind of keep the goats from getting out. It's actually a pretty nifty thing that my husband built. All of these feeders that you see in the videos are actually like 10 years old. They've held up really good. I love them. They're perfect. They're kind of a pain in the butt to move around because they're heavy as a son of a gun, but they need to be heavy so that way the animals don't move them around. So, so this is just an empty pen. Goes down here. There's another empty pen. So we cleaned out all of our barns recently, scraped up all the manure and got it out, so that way everybody got fresh bedding. We like to try to do that every year, so that way we can start the winter out with fresh bedding. With this being concrete, makes it really easy. We just drive a skid loader up and scoop it out and take it out. So the stairs are there to keep the gate from shutting because those goats are tricksters. So this is where the main group of chickens, it's the biggest pen, they come in at night. We shut the garage door in the back. I don't know if you can tell that bright shiny thing is a garage door, but we shut it, and they'll come in here and they'll roost at night. They're coming in right now because it's hot and they're getting some shade, but they have free access and free range to the farm. They're also coming in to eat a little bit, I guess. I don't know if they've had their bug time or not. So this is our other side of the barn, and right now it's just holding one goat and her kids, but at night it has more goats. So you can see we've got some feeders stacked up. We haven't built our pens up on this side yet, up here on this half of the barn, but it'll be set up the same as the other side with lots and lots of individual pens. So I've got this pen set up for expectant mothers, so when they're getting close to birthing, we'll stick them in here and they'll have their babies. We'll let them stay in here for about 3 days to mother up with their kids, and then we'll stick them over into a group house pen so that they are with some other animals of their own, or even just a bigger pen so the animals get more exercise. So this is Fern. Fern is my favorite goat. We keep that a secret from the other goats, don't we? Yeah. And these guys right here, this is Boston and Holly. Boston and Holly are two babies. They were born in the mid to late July. I don't remember the date off the head. It's like the 17th or something. But these kids are super cute. And I do like to dehorn our dairy goats. So these guys, we've got a couple dairy goats with horns because I thought maybe I would just keep them on them and not do that process, but actually after having dairy goats now for like 4 years and having a few dairy goats with horns, I prefer no horns for sure. So one of the reasons why we'd like to have automatic waters is because we have to drag hoses all over our barns. So when we get the doors cut in, and so that they can go outside and have their own individual lots, that's part of that process to have automatic water. So for right now, when we're letting the goats in and out of the barn, we actually run them up and down these hallways that I'm walking down. So, and it works a lot better. Room the chickens can get into, and they actually come in and roost at night, so that we have kind of one on each side of the barn. So this is kind of where they come in at night to roost or get out. We actually have these nesting boxes, which are pretty cool for laying. We've got a few more to hang up, like 3 more, I think. So you put this like resting board up, and then you move the tray down, and that's where they lay their eggs. So We can come over here. There's one hanging out. They like to hide behind the red flaps, you know, because nobody needs to see them doing their business. So, chickens are chickens. So, anyway, just hanging out. I got one little turkey over there. She's a royal palm. We call her Priscilla. I keep saying I'm going to get Priscilla a boyfriend, but I haven't yet. So we're out here in our manure management barn. It's what we call it anyway, even though we have animals out here. I do have some composting bins over here on the side. Right now it's carrying some straw, which is good because we're going to have to rebed some of the pens in here today. We had a really gnarly storm yesterday, and while the open sides are really great for sunlight and wind and for ventilation purposes, it's really bad when the weather comes in from the west, like it typically does. You can see the ground is really wet right here, and over there my phone doesn't want to focus. And basically what happened is the wind and the rain blew all the straw off those halves of the pens. So we're going to have to go through and actually rebed them today. So I'm happy we have some straw. I've got 4 pens of animals out here. I've got this one over here, that's some boar goats and they're breeding. I've got this one right here, some boar goats and they're breeding. This guy right here is Crusher. He's been with us for a while. He is a pretty sweet dude. We're looking for a new home for him. He's pretty fantastic. Aren't you, buddy? Yeah. Okay, and then I've got my dairy goats over here. They actually have this whole entire lot, and at the end of the evenings, we call them inside and they go in this side door of the barn and go in for the night. They get grain and fed inside. So this is Andromeda. My kids love her. And these other girls right here, Lady. So they're just hanging out. I've got these other dairy goats right here. They are also being bred right now. That's Remington. He's looking like he's getting ready to do his job. And they are being bred for later on this year. We've got a few nesting boxes for the chickens, and because they make their way out here. So we do hang up carpet and stuff. So if somebody tears out carpet out of their house and we know them, we'll hang up some carpet. It's good for a few years, and then we tear it down when it gets real bad. But it also it helps block some of the wind and the rain off of the critters, so that way they don't get real cold and stuff during the winter months. So yeah, you can kind of see right here better where this pen, like half of the pen, just everything got blue over here. So we'll have to put some new straw beds down. So all these kids right here are wethers. They're probably birthdays from December of 2020 or through maybe like February of 2021, and these are actually my kids. So they were either their show goats or they bought them from other 4-H kids, and they're going to be showing these or feeding these guys out a little bit more, and in the next few months we will have them processed, and they'll actually sell like the meat at the local farmers market and kind of bulk up their college savings fund a little bit. So I've got 2 bottle calves over here. We've got Ginger and Sugar. They're hanging out. They're actually from my father-in-law's herds, but because I have the goat's milk, he says here, save the babies, and we end up with the bottle calves. So we have this kind of area. It actually stays empty most of the winter months. We'd actually have it open during the winter because we don't typically keep this as a full lot except for during the summer months, because I don't like to mow and weed eat. So we open this all up so that the critters can eat it. But I've got these East Frisian sheep right here. They're actually bred. This is the same lot with those dairy goats I was showing you, and they will be sheared here in the next couple weeks because they're getting ready to have babies. And these guys right here may end up in this lot to help get rid of some of the weeds that these guys left behind. So this is our loading chute, which also these guys have access to, but you can tell weeds still there. Okay, so that's our barn. I hope you enjoyed a quick tour. It's nothing super fancy, but we do like it. I think we finally figured out how we want to have it set up in the next few years. So hopefully over time we'll get those automatic waters turned in, and we'll get those doors cut into the side of the barn, and have those lots ready for us. So don't forget to like and follow our YouTube page if you haven't yet, and check back in for future videos. Thanks.